For guests and visitors, my name is Steve Perley, Club President. I'd like to welcome you all to what I believe is the 9th meeting of the 48th year of the Dublin Worthington Rotary Club. Today's invocation and pledge of allegiance will be offered by Tom Rice.
Let us pray. Oh God, we thank you. We thank you for the gift of Rotary and the gift of this day and the gift of this season in which we're surrounded by beauty. And so bless this time. Help us to connect with each other and connect with important opportunities to serve and make a difference together. We pray this with thanksgiving. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Pastor Rice. Apologies. Let's see. Visiting Rotarians or guests. We have a visiting Rotarian and a guest and an honorary member. Let's all welcome back Abe Otto.
This is the first time in 4 years.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon not to be a guest.
It's nice to be here. Good to have you. Good to have you.
Sorry, Scott, I didn't mean to cut you off, but in the room Abe was speaking.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a lot of noise here too.
That's okay. As a reminder, I was going to wait for the announcements, but the comment period for Scott Lawrence is closing at 5 p.m. on Friday. So if you have good, bad, or indifferent to say about Scott, send it to me. I do not anticipate there being a problem, but it is formality. So good to have you here, Scott.
Thank you.
I think I saw some other guests, but now they've disappeared. George, Jennifer, no? No, okay. Moving right along, then we have our sergeant. And I think before we get into the sergeant, we should recognize the sergeant's birthday. Today is Jerry's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jerry. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike.
Today is also Win Wish's birthday. Yeah, we got a single win too.
Yeah, win. Yep, let's do it.
Today. Stand up, Rick.
Stand up, win. I didn't know that, I'm sorry. Let's make it official. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Winnie. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
And this is the big one, number 80.
80.
Number 80
My
today.
goodness. All right, now I'll turn it over to Jerry.
Any other birthdays in September in the room? Here we are, because I knew that was the case. Paula was September the 3rd. Stand up, Paula. We're not going to sing this time. We've had enough singing. Happy birthday. Any other September birthdays? All right. Any happy dollars? Okay, Charlie.
Meeting number 9 in a row.
Okay.
And also, if anybody has found free tickets, Bonnie Beth has lost her tickets, four-way tested. Holding on to tickets that weren't yours. Give them back to Bonnie.
Yeah. Okay, Alan, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm just happy to be back from a 12-day National Parks tour, bus tour, and it was wonderful. And if ever anybody wants to know about it, or that tours, I'll be glad to tell.
That's good. George, come up and get the pot. Sit. He's been ribbing me for the last, well,
Me?
ever since 1978, however many years that is. You know, I'm not very good with numbers. Go collect the dollars from Charlie and now from Alan and now Roger. Roger, give me your happy dollar.
Some of you saw or heard my granddaughter speak a couple of weeks ago. Speak. Right now, she's on a plane.
Can you repeat that?
Louder, louder. There's old people in there. My granddaughter is going to Spain. She's on a plane right now, heading to Spain. Yeah. So she gets there tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And the big thing is, I found out last night at the dinner. There's another student from Idaho. That's going to be in the same town. And she's meeting with him. And doing it. It's like, wow.
How old is she?
She's 16.
Oh,
Roger, that's really $2. When you add on like that, you get added on. Okay, any other happy dollars? Yes, go right ahead.
One of my many bucket list adventures is to see a basketball game at Madison Square Garden. I've never been there. I got tickets this morning to see Ohio State play North Carolina on December 17th at Madison Square Garden.
We'll pray the airlines fly that day. Hey, go ahead.
I've got to be here. And, you know, as we get older, it's difficult, I remember, when I have to, when I have that come and now it's my turn. And I'm grateful for that. So, I am retired.
Hey, we're glad you're here. We hope you can return soon. And if not, would you just write a letter? We'll put it in the newsletter. When? Hard to stand up, Win. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had input in 2 weeks ago, and today's the first day of not using the key.
All right. All right. Just raising Cain. All right, any other happy dollars? All right, so I'm not putting in a happy dollar for my birthday because treasurer of the foundation. So I'll be writing a check, 10 cents for every year. So how many dimes should I put in? $35 would be good, yeah. Yeah, not quite.
$7?
Okay, I'm 82 today. And glad of it. And as I told Tom Rice, the original Tom Rice, well, that's who I was talking to, but I'm addressing all of you. I want to tell you, it's been a good ride. I hope to continue the ride, but I can tell you, one of the greatest parts of it, other than, of course, my wife and my children and my grandchildren and about 400 other things, would be my life in Rotary. It really means a lot to me. The things that we've done, people that we've helped, the families that we've straightened out, and the camaraderie and fellowship with the members in this club. I would have never known almost all of them. Now, I would have known George, so I'm excluding him from those remarks.
I had to live across the street from him for 15 years.
Yeah, well, that wasn't my fault. You could have moved when I moved in. Okay, now, if you had a piece of my birthday cake, you have to pay for it. Put in $1. If you didn't have a piece of my birthday cake, shame on you, put in $1. Now, I always give you these dumb jokes. So I'm not gonna do that today. I'm gonna spare you from the jokes. Here's the, yeah, that's good. That's good, Jim, except it's a little bit premature because I'm gonna give you my country and western song list. So if you moan, or if you smile, or if you laugh, you're gonna have to put in $1. And for this week, there's a $2 maximum, so there we go. I sold a car to a guy who stole my girl, but it don't run, so we're even. If the phone don't ring, you know it's me. She's acting single, I'm drinking doubles, that's an old one. How can I miss you if you won't go away? I keep forgetting I forgot about you. I liked you better before I knew you so well. I still miss you, baby, but my aim's getting better. I'm so miserable without you, it's like having you here. She's looking better after every beer. And of course, my favorite, which you know, if I'd have shot you when I wanted to, I'd be out by now.
Some good ones in there. All right, does anybody have any announcements? If you have announcements, please make your way up to the podium. I've already said Jerry's birthday, we talked about Scott Lawrence, so rah-rah.
I just have one more announcement. I'm all out of cherry vanilla ice cream. Don't you think I look like a dairy maiden?
I was thinking Colonel Sanders, didn't he?
John Doe looked like that too.
Ted.
Can we put that thing on? Yeah.
Where you work, Brad?
You want this one or this one?
Let's go with that one. So, can everybody see that? Can our Zoom attendant see that? This week.
Yes.
Yes,
Excellent.
we can see.
This weekend, district is putting on the next basic education and literacy symposium. It's literacy month. We're, kind of the leading edge, you guys, in this district because of not only the literacy stuff we're doing in Mongolia, but Darnell and I and some of you are also very active with Tom Carlisi on the peace stuff. So you will see this flyer coming to you in your inbox momentarily, but the speakers will be our own Jennifer Best. Jennifer is the CFO of the Governor's Imagination Library of Ohio. And of course, we've had a little bit of activity working towards that, right, Jennifer? We are chasing Dolly Parton, as you guys know, and the gentleman in the middle, who's the past district governor down there in Pigeon Forge, happens to know Dolly pretty well, I understand. Again, we're gonna be at Zone Institute momentarily with that, folks. And our dear president of our sister club in Mongolia, Aryanga, will be talking about Let's Read. So it's at 10 o'clock on Saturday. Even if you just have a few minutes to drop in, I really urge you to do that. And we'll be reporting back about all of that further. Oh yeah, and lastly, we got invited, and there'll be kind of a dry run of this weekend. The Zone Institute thing down in Chattanooga in a few weeks. For the first time ever, they're doing in their House of Friendship Light that Craig Maxey has renamed the hub. They are doing a Rotary version of Shark Tank. I think there's 5 projects that are being, that have been invited to present, and Let's Read is one. So, thank you.
Fantastic.
It's just a quick announcement for those of you who are on Ways and Means Committee. We have our next meeting next week, following our regular club meeting at 1 o'clock or 1:05. And we will meet in the back area of this building in their kind of, what's the name of that room?
Stag room.
Oh, yeah, the stag room. But women aren't invited, I'm sorry.
Stag deers, right?
All right,
Stag.
what?
So if you're not on the committee, but interested in it, interested in fundraising in any form, interested in how we disperse our funds in any form, please attend that meeting. The last meeting was, I thought, a very energizing meeting, and we've got quite a few things on the agenda for this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim and Jim. The rah-rah. Last week we had the rah-rah. I think it was a great success. We had a great turnout. I want to thank the social committee and Katie, the chair, for setting that up. We tried a new raffle format. The tickets were $2 for one and $5 for three, right, Bonnie? Seemed like it worked well. We raised $150, 50 or 75 of which went to Tom Rice, which, you know, nobody's happy about that, but the other 75 went back into the social fund to do more fun things. So I believe we have another one coming up in October. I think so. So good.
You know who that is?
No. Somewhere in Dublin or Worthington, I think. All right, the food drive. I think you guys should have received an email from Andrew St. Holmes yesterday about the food drive. He needs some help. I believe we need another location to support Dublin. We also need captains. So if you are available, please reach out to him. Oh, the Bill Shots Memorial Golf Outing. I have my team. I know Jim Farmer may still be looking for a team. I don't know, maybe. It is next Tuesday at noon at Kinsale. I don't know what Kinsale is. Where's Kinsale?
Sawmill Road, now,
Okay, that's where I'll be. Obviously, it goes towards a good cause. Our club is a gold sponsor for that. So I encourage you to participate. I think I've covered it all. Any other announcements? Good. All right, who's going to introduce our speaker? Okay, one.
In the 4 seasons of the year, we're now fading from summer to autumn. And it's only about 12 weeks to Thanksgiving. So I thought, well, we'll look forward to this time of year and what you're going to do. And let's select a topic that's not political or messy. And I came up with the idea of gardening. You know, what are you doing in the fall when you're gardening? Well, you do rake leaves, but there's a lot more. A little fact I'll throw out to you. You know, if you were to plant grass seed in the fall, one of the reasons, the benefits of doing that rather than the spring, weeds don't germinate in the fall. So with that, I thought we would have gardening in the fall, where we're going to talk about roses, ground cover, hostas, trees, bulbs, and all of that. And I'm going to now introduce Mike Molden. A little bit about Mike. You know, he was the president and 2010 and 11. He's been in the club 45 years. And he was a father-son team of the original Rotary. He was the only father-son team to be there. So without further ado, here's Mike.
Thank you. All right, good to see everybody. I don't know about how messy it's gonna get. I brought some visual aids. Those of you who want to see visual aids. These two here are probably the most widely used tools in the garden, especially in the fall. Planting bulbs, cutting roots. This tool will do anything you want. That's a nice bright pink handle. Let's see, you don't lose it in the green. Pruners the same way. Pruners, fall right now, you don't want to prune very heavy, but still, there's a lot of things that need to be cut back, especially after the heavy growth this year. And I have a few flyers here I'll pass out, especially for those of you who own ponds. I have some flyers on pond maintenance. So the fall is quite different as far as pond maintenance goes. Anybody would like one of these?
I'll pass them out for you.
Yeah. If I want to be saved, yeah.
So do you use anvil or bypass?
I use bypass pruners or a cleaner cut than the anvil pruners that Jerry asked. These particular ones are bypass pruners. When you're pruning, most things, you hold them in your hand like that. You prune the trees, turn them upside down. You always want the blade at the bottom so you don't tear it apart. Many people just cut. Little tip, little tip from Uncle Mike. One of the first things you really should do in the fall, and a lot of people don't even consider it, is running a soil test. You can go to Franklin County, will do most of your soil tests for little or no charge. You can go to some of the local testing facilities. I think it's about $15 to $25. That will determine all the nutrients in the soil. If you've never had one done before, it's well worth every penny you spend, excuse me, doing that. A lot of people don't understand how the pH is what helps your plants ingest nutrients. If you have the incorrect pH, plants aren't going to grow, they're not going to thrive. A lot of people want to plant different things, roses and other flowering shrubs like that. Just get an idea of what your soil pH is like before you go planting, especially with roses. Roses need very good soil, and they don't like the heavy clays, especially in hot. Right now, September, October, November, best time to plant spring bulbs. You can use a tool like this and slave all day long, or you just get out of the hardware store and buy a bulb auger. Put it on your cordless drill, it'll be done in no time. They're relatively inexpensive, and they really save your back. So I would always recommend that. Right now, you want to start putting in daffodils are a good bulb that deer will not, they're toxic to deer and small animals, rabbits, squirrels. So those are a pretty good fall plant that you can put in. The other bulbs you plant this time of year, flowering allium, which is the onion plant. A lot of you see the large ornamental onions, which have a big globe flower on top. Giant mixed hyacinth are also another good one plant in the fall. The grape hyacinth is another plant that I have never seen any of my wildlife eat at all. Wonderful bloom, and it's one of the few bulbs that will come back year after year after year. It's a relatively short grower, so you don't want to put it, you want to put it out on a border somewhere. And then any of the dwarf or the regular daffodils, the tater-ticks are all nice dwarf. Good color in the spring, especially once you want to see some color in your garden in the spring when nothing else is up. plant bulbs. Seeds this time of year, another thing that, like Wim said, the fall is perfect timing for grass seed because majority of your weed seed will not germinate. So if you're gonna put in grass, right now is the time to do it. Prime seed dates are end of August to the 1st of November. Any day you get in past the 1st of November, you're losing a week of germination for every day past the 1st of November. The other seeds you can plant right now are some of your garden seeds. So if you're a fan of turnips or beets, chard, kale, Brussels sprouts, spinach, all of these can be planted. They're very slow growers, so they will germinate, last through the winter, and then come up with a crop in the spring. Most of those are pretty hardy varieties. A lot of people wait till spring to plant that, but you can put them in right now. Be well ahead of the game. Right now is the best time to plant wildflower meadows. If you want to get into your garden, and there's one blend called Northern Shade Mix that I used in my garden. Out of the 20 varieties that come in it, I probably have 5 left. Because wildflower seeds, you'll find only the strong will survive. Anything that doesn't like where it is, it doesn't like the amount of moisture, the amount of sunlight, it just won't survive. They'll live a year or two and then it's gone. But several good varieties that I still have in my garden get very tall and they last. They're beautiful flowers all summer long. You see right now, about the only thing you see in bloom in your garden are the fall anemones. The fall anemones will bloom clear to the middle of October. Lenten rose is the other one that you'll see blooming now up into the middle of November, till frost hits. One of the best things you can do right now in your garden, take your little tool out there and dig all the weeds out. For every weed you leave in your garden right now, you're gonna have 100 of them next spring. They're all gone to seed right now, and all that seed that's left on the top. If you don't remove the weed, at least remove the seed head. Many times I get into, we did a huge mulch and soil project for Chadwick Arboretum at OSU. They fought thistles for 5 years because no one really understood how bad the problem was going to be after they started the first year. Now they have a program where they go in and remove all the seed heads as soon as they come up and then continue to work on the rest of the plant. And they use both organic and chemical weed killers. If you want one of the best weed killers for your garden this time of year that is organic, if you go to Home Depot, they have a 30% acid solution vinegar. What you get in the store is like 3% to 5% acid solution. Now, the vinegar they sell there is 5 times more expensive than what you buy in the store, but it's also 10 times the amount of acid. So it will kill pretty much anything. Whatever you spray it on, it will kill. So be careful around your other plants or your grass or anything like that.
Mike,
Yes,
does the vinegar have a residual effect in the soil?
absolutely not. Vinegar is just an acid that pretty much goes away after about 1 or 2 rains. So it's not like some of your other chemicals. You know, they kept telling you how Roundup is non-residual, and it is. It stays in the soil, it stays in the root system. So that's when I've been trying to stay away from that. You're better off with more selective herbicides. Tenacity is one of those. Tenacity is very expensive, but it'll kill most of your grass type weeds. And it'll tell you when they're dead because they turn white as soon as they start to die, within a day. So that's a really good chemical that I use a lot of. It's about $70 a quart, so it's fairly expensive, but you use a syringe to mix your containers with. we're talking 2 or 3 ounces of product. Where when you're mixing something else, you're using 10, 15, 20 ounces. Makes a big difference.
What's the name of that?
It's called tenacity. Jim?
One of the worries I have is runoff of those going down to my back neighbor has a lot of blue pine shrubbery going in.
Yeah.
I've seen where that could get wiped out.
Yeah, so that's why I tend to use a lot of the organics, because as they dissipate in the water, they really lose most of their effectiveness. When you get into chemicals, especially runoff, you gotta be very careful about runoff. Not only runoff, but air, just that air will move it around. They found that a lot of trees were getting damaged when you see real big lesions in the plant stems. So people spray Roundup on windy days. That Roundup not only would blow into the trunk, but be absorbed by the plant. Roundup is essentially a beta blocker, keeps things from growing. So it's a great chemical. It works. It's long lasting. It kills it all the way to the root, but it does have its side effects. And if not administered properly, I've seen the type of cancers that you can develop from overexposure to Roundup. So if you do use it, wear gloves, wear long pants, long sleeves. Just stay with the manufacturer's recommendations and you'll be safe. A lot of people go out with shorts and their flip flops and they're spraying. It's just not healthy. So
Mike, is the vinegar a better alternative to the Roundup? Like
the vinegar is the vinegar will pretty much is a topical kill. It kills the plant, but doesn't kill the root. So the thing about in the fall is once you can kill that weed plant, most of the roots will not survive. When you get into perennial weeds, dandelions, thistles, things like that, yeah, you can spray them a couple times with the vinegar. Vinegar, you just take that high acid solution vinegar, mix it with a little bit of Dawn dishwasher soap. That's a surfactant, which will actually adhere to the leaf. It's a great product. I had probably 8 years now that I use nothing but that in my backyard. I have weeds, but it's just one of those things that, especially when you have kids and animals, herbicides are very detrimental to your health system. So as they pick it up in their paws or their feet or their hands, it causes some damage. And over long periods of time, it can cause some extensive damage. Any of your herbicides or fungicides will do that. They weaken the immune system. So fungicides are probably 10 times more deadly than your herbicides. But again, overexposure just weakens your immune system, and you can get all kinds of things. You see a lot of people that have developed cancer over different exposures. And so it's about being smart. Anything, if you're exposed to something for long periods of time, I don't care what it is, it's not going to be beneficial to you. Even the sunlight, that's my hit. So that's just the way I is. I wear more sunscreen now than I ever did. The other thing is when you're cleaning up your gardens, you don't need to remove all the leaves. The leaves and some of the sticks, you really want to just rake up underneath some of your hedgerows. This does two things. It gives some of the wildlife a place for winter. Bees are one of the biggest ones that it will help protect some of the bees. It also protects the root zone of your plants. It keeps the extreme cold temperatures from damaging root zones. So don't be in such a hurry to remove every leaf you have in your garden. You're better off leaving some of that there. It's just a protection for the ground, an insulator more than anything.
Can you leave them all?
What's that?
You just leave them all and then.
I have not raked a leaf in my yard in 10 years. So the thing about that is,
Worn out.
in your lawn areas, you don't want to leave any leaves, but I mulch them, I double cut them and just mulch them, leave that nutrient in the ground where it's supposed to be. Instead of buying more and more and more fertilizer, take that organic that you already have, turn it into compost in your own yard. Now, I do have to blow some of the leaves out into the garden area, but I have a woodland garden, so it doesn't really make much difference to me. If I leave some leaves in there, just something else for the animals to crawl over to. The front of my house, I have a 65-foot tall bald cypress. And I have to tell you a funny story. My neighbor came over, they just moved in July. They came over last, I think it was October, around October, November. They said, you know, Mike, that tree is beautiful. I'm sorry to see you're losing it. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's turning brown. So that's because it drops its needles. It's a deciduous conifer. So not every tree that's turning brown is dying. And when people see that, it's a really pretty bronze, brown, fall color. So beautiful tree, a big mess to clean up. Unless you want to be raking some stuff. That is really nice because it's right by the street where I can put it in containers and the trash guys can take it right away. And I just use the big trash cans and put a recycle sticker on them. Just put them in bags, nothing but a pain in the rear. Garden tools, your pruners or your garden knives, anything like that. Make sure you clean these relatively frequently. A lot of times that's how people really spread disease around their garden. If you prune a plant that's diseased and you move on to another plant, well, that bacteria stays on your pruners. So clean these, and you can use soap and water, works about as good as anything. There's a product that you can get that will prevent spread of pathogens called Japanese rust eraser. You can buy that online. It will clean all your tools, and it works very well. When you're in the garden, especially in the fall, when you start to cut some things, cut your perennials down. Save your sunflower seeds, your coneflower seeds, your black-eyed Susans, tomatoes, poppies, all those seeds. I just used to take, especially your sunflowers, I used to take the whole sunflower head itself, put it in a plastic bag, leave it in the garage. They need to cold stratify for that seed to germinate next spring. So don't put them in somewhere warm and dry, put them somewhere cool. The temperatures are in that 30 to 40 degree range. Garage works perfect. Pruning now is not a good idea. So if you want to prune in your garden, if you're going to do light pruning, no problem. Almost all plants right now are storing their nutrients for winter. So you don't want to go out there just hacking everything down this time of year, or you're really damaging the process of how that plant stores its energy to get through the winter and come back in the spring. Wait till they're dormant, wait till they start losing leaves. Alan, do you have a question?
Yeah, how about evergreens like taxus with their long shoots? Can you trim them off?
Yeah, the evergreens like taxus put on several growths a season. So those can be pruned pretty frequently, and I find it quite hard to even kill one of those once they're established. They're about the hardest plants you can kill. So you can prune those relatively hard. I don't recommend taking them down to brown stem, but you can prune them pretty hard and they'll be okay. Even boxwood this time of year, we prune back pretty hard. When?
How about deer, when you're planting and all like that in the fall? I think
Yeah, you know what, the things that I recommend in planting as far as, there's quite a few things that you can plant in the fall that, all the ones I recommend as far as bulbs, the allium, the daffodils, and things like that, those are all deer and squirrel resistant. If you're planting tulips. Tulips we plant, if you're in a high rabbit squirrel area, we plant those in chicken wire cages so that the animals cannot eat the bulb. They can dig down to them, and if you have a lot of chipmunks, that's where they'll be, down eating your bulbs. Just make some chicken wire cages, plant your bulbs in them.
So putting blood, meal, and all that.
And they, you know, that will probably keep 30% of the animals away. It's really not a deterrent like you would think. Even like some of the deer, there's a couple good deer sprays. I was on the board at Inniswood Gardens for 8 years. Bob X was what they used to use. They have a new product now, but those are sprays that contain pepper and vinegar and a lot of things that deer don't like the smell of, and they really don't like the taste of. So some of the new deer sprays are very good, and they have a little bit of, I'm trying to think what they put in with them. It's almost like a Protect product that actually helps that stay within the leaf of the plant for about 2 weeks. And then you just have to reapply it. If you get more rain, you have to reapply it. And when you get a lot of rain, a lot of people, when you get into like fall fertilization, the two best applications for your lawn are your fall fertilizer and your winterizer. And in years where you have heavy rains, well, the water leaches nitrogen out of the soil. So the more nitrogen you can put back into the soil, the better off it's going to be. Right now, your grass isn't growing. You notice if you're out cutting grass, very little of the top is growing. Right now, the roots are growing. So you want to do everything you can to develop that root right now. And most of the time, you can do that by using a higher phosphate product. Low nitrogen, high phosphate product will help that root growth. As your grass gets stronger, it'll help choke some of the weeds out. I've been fighting ground ivy for years, and I found those two applications do more to choke out the weeds than anything else that they do. Fall is the best time you can plant trees. One of the best times you can plant shrubs. Perennials, if you're going to plant in the fall, try to get them in the ground before October. You want those to have a little bit of root going into the winter, or they'll heave. The freeze thaw pops them right out of the ground. But anything else, really, transplant's much easier now because it's just slowed down. Everything in the whole system of the plant is slowed down. Trees that I do not recommend for the fall, any oak varieties, especially white oak, any birch varieties, they do not move well in the fall. Magnolias don't like being moved in the fall. And this is about it, black gum will not transplant well in the fall. So that's just a few varieties that you really don't want to try to plant in the fall. But anything else, you should be good to go as far as planting. The fall is one of the best times. Take very little care to take care of a plant when you move in the fall. You don't have to water quite so much. And it's not growing. It's just not moving along. Number one, though, is clear your weeds out. Right now, if you're going to do anything in your garden, get rid of what's there. I just finished a yard over in Worthington that it was as big as this room, and it had 4.5 foot tall thistles. The entire garden. The house had sat on the market for a number of years. And family moved in from California and said, "What am I going to do?" And I thought, I don't know. I don't know. You're going to have some trouble here. And you can see it even through the summer. You started getting, instead of grass, you had thistles growing into the lawn areas. Because with that many seeds, one plant will produce 10,000 seeds. Get rid of the seeds now. If you get rid of the seeds now, you'll have a much easier time in the spring. Then once you get into spring, just use the pre-emergent controls. Use some of Snapshot, a good one. There's some good pre-emergents. Steve?
You ever just use fire to clear
Fire?
out? You know, I've got a yard full of thistle, you just light it on fire, anything like that?
Not tried that, but they have a thing that you can buy online, it's called a weed dragon. And it is a propane torch that you can actually go through and burn it down. You do not want to use gasoline. Gasoline is residual. It will stay in your garden, nothing will grow for 2 or 3 or 4 years. So don't use gasoline. I can see all you fires out there, but it lights so good and it goes up in big flames. So I don't recommend that. There are some really good soil sterilants. If you're in an area like driveways or gravel driveways, Sahara is a soil sterilant. Nothing will grow. Absolutely nothing for 3 to 5 years.
What's that again, Mike?
It's called Sahara. Be very careful. Be very careful with the residual on that. So as that residue wash off goes somewhere, it's going to kill everything. So you have to be very careful about that. The other one that if you want to sterilize soils, a lot of places will use a certain chemical that I don't recommend using. It's got a super high LD on it, so methyl bromide. If you see houses that they're fumigating and they cover them with an entire sheet of plastic, methyl bromide is what they use. And sad note to that, the methyl bromide is what they used in Germany. Not good. All right. Any other questions from anybody? Ken?
What's your favorite grass seed for partial sun?
Partial sun. The only thing I recommend, which my yard is about 75% shade in the backyard. Tall turf fescue. So I buy a specific blend that's called Rhizomus Tall Fescue. It's RTF. And you can get that or some other blends like that. The root gets 12 to 18 inches deep. It's drought tolerant. Insects, really very little problem with insects. And it'll tolerate more shade than any of the bluegrass varieties.
That's not the traditional clumping fescue.
No, because the RTF, the Rhizomus fescue, will actually rhizome out and fill in bare spots. Most fescues are bunch grasses. They will stay in a bunch and they will not go outside that bunch. So you have to find the new varieties that are Rhizomus. If you don't find the Rhizomus, then you can mix a little bit of bluegrass as a mender, something that will mend the bare areas. But the RTF is a specific blend that I get from Columbus Turf. They sell it on the market. Columbus Turf is up towards Circleville. And they'll actually sell 50-pound bags of that. Some of the other local suppliers, Site One has something very similar. And just tell them you want a Rhizomus tall turf fescue. The blade is very similar to bluegrass. A lot of people, you look at my grass in the spring in the front of my house, I've never watered it. I haven't watered it in probably 8 years. And it's greener than any house around me, just because it's got such a deep root. I don't get many grub worms because I have nematodes. Nematodes are a natural, an organic way to remove grub worms. They eat grub worms. And a nematode is a small non-segmented worm. You've ever seen them, they're about that big, and they're skinny, and they just jump around like a Mexican jelly bean. But that's a really good organic treatment for your lawn. That will keep most of your Japanese beetles out or grub worms, but they are in the early stages. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, everybody.
You sure that's not a dagger?
Hey,
Can't give that.
see, we got a beer opener on it. Only landscapers will come up with something like that.
Thank you, Mike. All right, next week, our speaker will be Sean Asbury from Columbus State. He's going to be talking about how to defend yourself against an armed aggressor. I think maybe there'll be a demonstration, maybe when will be the volunteer, I don't know, come to find out, but I wouldn't want your dark now. All right, we have a raffle for Chapman.
We have all of $11 in the,
$11.
And the last four numbers are 1768.
1768.
Buy a lottery.
Hey, you know what? When you live right.
That's something.
$74. Paid. You didn't put comments back in. Last four numbers, 1759.
I finally won, 1759,
Yeah.
which is great because we don't have the deck, I don't know where it went. Every week this stuff's moved around, it was supposed to be in the back.
I know the routine.
What's the routine?
That's Kate.
It's in the closet. Let me run real quick.
Don't run it.
Where's your pair of scissors?
Okay, now we're ready for the four-way test.
What do you call?
3 of hearts. I can show it back there.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, if you will repeat with me of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it true? Second,
Is it fair?
concern? Third, and fourth. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. We are adjourned.
Take a piece of cake. Take a piece of cake at home.
Hi, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.